Document C. Now, I am not going to annotate. You can pause the video and annotate along as I talk about document C, but we're going to start again with what do you see? We're going with the C mean matter model, okay? And starting with what you see first is probably or definitely the easiest because you're just writing what you observe. And in document C, obviously this is a diagram of cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. In this document, you can see that there are two processes that happen in the mitochondria here. This is the mitochondrion. And then the cytosol is the cytoplasm. It's not, cytosol is going to be is part of the cytoplasm, okay? You can see that there are three processes in cellular respiration. You have glycolysis that happens in the cytosol. You can see in the diagram, glycolysis happens in the cytosol. And glycolysis takes glucose and it breaks it down to 2-pyruvate. You can see that the other two parts of cellular respiration happen in the mitochondrion, and you have the Krebs cycle, and you have the electron transport chain. Okay, so we see three parts of cellular respiration: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. We can see that one process is happening in the cytosol, which is part of the cytoplasm, and the other two parts are happening in the mitochondrion. Okay, we can see that glycolysis, glucose is broken down to pyruvate, and it produces 2 ATP. 2 ATP, that's adenosine triphosphate. Okay, glycolysis, glucose is broken down in the cytosol, in the cytoplasm, and it produces 2 ATP and 2 pyruvate. We can also see that the Krebs cycle produces 2 ATP. The Krebs cycle uses that pyruvate, okay, and it produces 2 more ATP. We can see also in the diagram that the electron transport chain produces about 34 ATP. About 34 ATP. So we can see that out of these three processes, that the electron transport chain produces the most adenosine triphosphate, the most energy in this entire process. Cellular respiration, all three processes, produces about 38 ATP. About 38 ATP. And so those are the things that are observable. There's probably more things that you can write that you do see, and I would encourage you to do so. The science vocabulary as it relates to the document. Okay, we have cellular respiration as a science vocabulary document. We have glycolysis. Okay, glyco is like glycogen, which is sugar. Okay, lysis is the breakdown. If you think of lysis and lysosomes, okay, glycolysis is the breakdown of glucose. Okay, you have pyruvate, okay, pyruvate, and Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. You have adenosine triphosphate, ATP. That's your vocabulary term. You have mitochondrion and you have cytosol. Now, recalling some of the additional vocabulary, you may remember that glycolysis and the Krebs cycle do not use oxygen. Okay, they're anaerobic. Glycolysis is anaerobic. Okay, anaerobic meaning there's no oxygen being used in that process. Anaerobic respiration. It produces far less ATP than the use of oxygen. Okay, the use of oxygen happens in the electron transport chain. That is aerobic aerobic respiration. And aerobic respiration is going to produce exponentially more ATP. Okay, if you think about, we're going to go to why, what does it mean? What does all this mean? Okay, so cellular respiration, cytosol would be a good science vocabulary word. It's in the cytoplasm. Mitochondrion is a good vocabulary word. Glycolysis, glucose, pyruvate, Krebs cycle, electron transport chain, ATP or adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so what does all of this mean? It means that aerobic respiration produces way more energy than anaerobic respiration. Oxygen, the use of oxygen. This means that aerobic respiration produces far more ATP, far more energy than respiration without oxygen. So anaerobic without oxygen, aerobic with oxygen. Okay? Why does it matter? Okay? Why does it matter? This document is going to matter according to your writing prompt because it produces energy. It produces carbon dioxide and water and energy. Carbon dioxide, water, and energy. And cellular respiration is needed for all living organisms. Anything that is living, plants, animals, algae, microscopic organisms, they carry out cellular respiration, whether it's aerobic or anaerobic, depending on their energy needs. Every living organism carries out cellular respiration. Again, some organisms may not need as much energy as others. They may not need as much energy as other organisms. Therefore, they would use anaerobic respiration. But more simpler organisms are going to use anaerobic respiration to produce energy. Our larger organisms are going to use aerobic respiration so that they can produce enough energy in order for that organism to survive. Again, I encourage you to pause the video, move the video back in order to annotate as a group.